Welcome back to Control, Alt, Delete, and Repeat, the podcast where we untangle automation disasters, roast over engineered tech stacks, and try to scale without setting everything on fire. I'm your host, Paul Malott, automation strategist, reluctant tech therapist, and a guy who still triple checks his workflow like it might unionize tomorrow. Today, I'm joined by Vitaly Kan, founder of ProfitPad, a HubSpot consultancy for high growth teams who are done with duct tape and ready for systems that actually do something. Vitaly is a former B2B SaaS sales rep turned CRM fixer, someone who's lived through the chaos, built the workflows, and now helps teams scale without losing their minds or their humanity. He's led 100 plus successful projects and somehow still enjoys what he does. So if your CRM feels more like a cryptic puzzle than a tool, or if your team needs a translator just to run a report, then this episode's for you. Hey, Vitaly, how you doing today?
Hi, Paul. Fantastic. Thanks for a kind introduction, and I can totally relate to triple checking the workflows.
Yeah, my pleasure here. Thanks for being on. I think I don't think tech's going to unionize anytime soon, but there's so much of it out there, and the APIs are changing all the time in terms of automation, and the tools that become available are getting better and better and better as we speak, right? So when I'm checking them, it's half paranoia and half I want to do something different, right? So I have to keep myself under control a little bit, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's a good segue here into a first question, if I could. So,
Mhm.
what's one automation that you're weirdly proud of, even if it was built with duct tape and a little prayer, maybe a rogue Google sheet?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, probably lots of prayer and hoping. Yeah, and many, many duct tapes. There's many to really choose from, but one probably that stands out the most to me was is building the fully or semi-fully automated sales process
Mm,
from the moment where lead comes in through newsletter, but they're not identified yet as a buyer, and they're automation essentially checks on their LinkedIn, checks on their company profile to see if they fit the target market of a client. And based
mhm.
on that, essentially push them specific message based on their industry, based on their company size, revenue that will essentially fit their product market fit. And there, if let's say this client or potential client opens the email, clicks on the links, right? We essentially identify how engaged they are. Are they checking our other web pages? Are they downloading content? And from there on, essentially, we lead score them based on
Sure.
that. Are they hot, warm, or are they cold? And then depending on that, if they're hot, we directly pass them on to sales rep, fire off the message like, hey, so you engage with us, would love to connect with you. And then if they book a call, boom, right there, they are in a sales pipeline. If they don't, there is a follow-up sequence happening, right? So that's been really fun to build because it saved so much time
Yeah.
from marketing team, sales team, doing the research, manually updating the record, sending a message. So pretty
Well,
proud
if
of
I
that.
could ask, what's your process like? I mean, so you described right there, the spaghetti automation, but the clean spaghetti automation, right?
Yeah.
But but what I find is when we walk into potential client discussions, when it comes to, taking a process and making it robust, increasing the productivity, streamlining it, right? The way you just talked, it made it seem really simple and smooth, right? But I know it's not. And so, how much experience are you bringing to the table when you're, helping a client that maybe is an industry you're not aware of? How do you tackle that?
Yeah, this was definitely not the first rodeo when we built that. It's something that we streamlined over dozens and dozens of implementations, learning from our own
Sure.
mistakes, troubleshooting workflows. And so how we arrived at that is we really started asking critical questions before we build stuff that, let's say,
Uh-huh.
clients are asking for or we are thinking is a cool thing. How can we simplify what we're really trying to accomplish and
Right.
ask those questions like what are we trying to do, who are we targeting, right? Very basic and foundational, but really at the core help us cut down what may have been workflow with 20 steps down to
Do you
5.
feel like a therapist sometimes when you're doing that? I'm not joking. I do. Because sometimes I think business owners have a tendency to be married to whatever the hot topic is of the day.
Yeah.
And in that way, it sounds like you're doing a lot of therapy. Like, come back down to reality here. Here's your
Yeah,
process, right? Do you feel like you're putting on the
100%.
that hat that the owner's wearing?
I can totally relate to that, Paul, so much. I mean, I myself having gone through therapy, when I go into those client meetings, I can see me myself asking the same types of questions, like, "How do you feel about this?
Yeah,
What are
how
you
does it make
really
you
trying
feel?
to
Yeah.
accomplish?" Yeah, like, what's on your heart today? What bothers you? What doesn't,
Yeah.
keep you at night? And so, yeah, it's really important to ask those deeper questions before trying to fix
Uh-huh.
whatever they are talking about. Yeah,
So
totally.
this is one that I think a lot of, my clients and your clients probably ask, especially because automation is new. AI is I mean, it's not new, but the idea of no code, low code and these incredibly complex, like you described, workflows that take something from cradle to grave, from start to finish. That's
Yeah.
really kind of a new concept for a lot of businesses. A lot of folks ask me, and I'm interested to hear your opinion here. When does an automation stop being useful? And when are people using it to maybe avoid a problem in their business rather than solve it, right? When are they using it to push aside? Do you see that happen?
100%. Yeah, I've seen automation becoming an overkill where
Yeah,
you log into the system and all of a sudden you have dozens of tasks on your to-do list that might seem redundant, that might seem like somebody's micromanaging you, right?
sure.
Rather than trusting that you're going to get it done. For example, we've seen cases where clients would ask, like, when a deal stays in the stage for a couple of days, our rep is supposed to send the quote, ask for confirmation, have a meeting to sign it, and then they would want to know essentially the status of that quote.
Uh-huh.
I understand that, but then they would want essentially to create prompts for the rep as if the rep is, a robot and they don't understand the logical progression. It's not in their interest to progress the deal. And so
Uh-huh.
in cases like this, automation becomes more of a bottleneck, right?
It
Rather
does.
than help and
Mhm.
amplification of the process. So here we, again, take a step back and ask, what are you really trying to accomplish? Maybe it's more of
Yeah,
a
therapy.
confusion.
You provide that therapy session. I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
attest to exactly what I mean, I've made my own automations that annoyed me, you know?
yeah,
But because
same.
I've tried, hey, I've got 6 mailboxes, keep my mailboxes clean for me. And all of a sudden I'm getting these like things that I would normally and maybe I did it wrong, right? This was a year ago or so, but you get these things that distract you from like the purpose of an automation, which is to let it be almost, right?
Right.
And I'm talking automation specifically, but your expertise is in HubSpot, right?
Yeah.
And building around HubSpot. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, HubSpot is a great tool. I'll be lying if I said it's perfect and it can achieve all your dreams, waving the magic wand here. But
Uh-huh.
it's great. It's great for startups because it's flexible, it's nimble, it provides pre-built features and tools that you don't need to code yourself or you don't need to plug in other software in. And so with that, when we work with clients, it's really a matter of understanding how to run their business. And from
Sure.
there on, we can customize and build HubSpot to their own unique setup. Yeah, nice thing about HubSpot is think about it as like building a website on the WordPress versus on drag and drop builder. So
Sure.
HubSpot is more of a drag and drop because we ourselves can teach the client how to use it, how to manipulate and change it. And so as the business grows, they're able to fix it themselves, adapt it. So
So
it's
you're
really
putting yourself out of business then. Your business. Well, so how do you differentiate yourself the use of a tool, right? I mean,
yeah,
HubSpot is one of the most well-known CRMs, I'd say,
yeah.
and providing your service around that, I think it means you have to be a friggin' expert, right? You have to know the ins and outs of the tool and know what can be done outside of it, within the context of whatever business you're supporting. How are you battling the ocean of competitors there?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something that I've definitely been learning myself about lately, positioning, right? We
Uh-huh,
started out as B2B SaaS and startup experts because that's a space that I've come from, right?
uh-huh,
And then when we got more clients in other industries like healthcare, manufacturing, finance, we thought, oh, look at that. We can go generalize ourselves. And that was
sure,
a mistake, classic mistake, going like a broader market reach. And so our messaging became fuzzy and our
sure.
client became confused, like, what exactly are you focusing on, right? And so that's when we took a step back and realized we got to focus on a specific niche. So we're still going to remain B2B SaaS and startups experts, but at the same time, we expand our knowledge in other domains as well. And we're going to
Sure.
have specialized messaging to those markets too. So that's where
Yeah,
we're at.
it's a
Yeah.
tightrope, right? Right, because you have to be as you're supporting the marketing and sales efforts of different clients in different industries, you have to adopt their mentality almost, right? To jump in to understand their business, but at the same time, it's a learning experience for you. And I'll be honest, my Automations 24 is my playground, right? It's a sandbox for me.
Yeah.
I should probably stop that, you know? Because it's like a sandbox where a cat takes a shit in sometimes because you're doing something. I'm playing with my own business, experimenting with it, and I have in some cases the same results as you, where my messaging is totally fuzzy, right?
Mm.
And so how are you controlling that, right? How do you not get frustrated with that? How do you ensure that you're having fun, right? Because I feel like fun is a important thing to pass along to the clients. And I mean fun like you enjoy what you do and your expertise shows in the way you do it. I can tell you're a brilliant mind, right? So how do you let that shine?
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Appreciate the kind of words. I love problem solving, and I have this kind of mindset of trying to get things done and having things organized. So for me,
Sure.
automation, clean process is something that I love working on. And so when clients come in and they share their challenges around messy CRM and reps not knowing what to do, right? That excites me because I know there's a real opportunity to help them get through this and put their mind at ease. So
A classic
that's what.
problem solver. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that same attitude and kudos for you for tackling problems that I think some people shy away from, right? I mean, it's a good segue to, have you ever had to turn away business, right? Was it something maybe not so messy, but the approach, albeit ethical and great in what the business was trying to do, just was something you had to say, it's not right for me?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. As a early entrepreneur, there was temptation to say yes,
Yeah,
and there definitely been costly mistakes where I said yes, and to later on realize that it wasn't the right move. I think particularly a couple of reasons. Number one, you mentioned already ethical reasons. Let's
sure.
say myself and this company don't really stand for something that I believe in, right? I'm not saying it's illegal, but it's still something that I don't feel like I
Hmm.
would want to see more of in the world. So that's when I said no. Or our values, open mindedness did not align. I can see from our initial conversations, this is not going to be a fun project. Like this person has a, mind set on something, my way or highway, and me providing feedback does not land. I know it's going to be tough because they're going to demand, ask for things that might not be possible or might not be really what I think is the best practice for their team.
How do you, I don't want to say put down the potential client, but
Yeah.
it's a real problem when you're hungry for business, right? I mean, there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, and you know as well as I do, I think lead generation and prospecting are probably
Mhm.
the number one thing that small and medium companies tell me they need support
Yeah.
in. And so I assume we kind of have that same need and desire.
Yeah.
To turn down money is a really hard thing to do.
Yeah.
How do you comfort yourself?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good and deep question, then, right? Which prompts a deeper conversation. What is more important, right? Am I at such a survival level where am I willing to compromise my values for the income, right? To feed my family, to feed myself,
Yeah.
right? But I've been in a place where I said yes to later on regret it because deep inside you feel you haven't made the right decision, or now you have a lot of stress from this and it's now not really a profitable solution. Sure enough, when you said yes and when you got that invoice paid, you felt great. But now looking back, working with this client, maybe you got bad review. Maybe they are asking for so many things that they're now dragging you backwards, right?
Yeah.
And so
Hindsight's always 2020. It's like
yeah.
if you talk to 19-year-old Paul Malott, I could do everything and I should have been the CEO of every business, Pepsi and whatever. But and it wasn't arrogance or ignorance, it was like confidence in myself, right?
Mm.
So, for me, that situation that you're describing, it really hurts your confidence in a way because you're desired, your service can be provided, and you can do it well, but you have to put that that boundary there. And you can probably attest as well as I can. Boundaries are very important for small businesses, right? And I think this leads to an interesting question, right? What's something? Let's say you had no boundaries in a CRM, right? Your HubSpot that has no boundaries. What's something that you'd like to see it do that is fun and both productive, fun and productive, that it doesn't do today?
Yeah, for sure. Two things come to my mind immediately. Number one is I wish HubSpot acted like a chat GPT in a way where, I just type in what I'm looking for and it self-builds based
Hmm.
on those requirements. That would make my life easier. Maybe even take me out of my job too. Who knows, right? Second thing would be fun to see is if HubSpot could be gamified. Like imagine
Sure.
if reps would get experience, bonus points when they complete, let's say, tasks, when they move the deals to closed one, when they hit their quotas, there is a leaderboard, right? So that I think would be a pretty fun experience. Or when your data
I
is
really
really,
like the gamified for a reason, the accountability. I
Mhm,
think games and badges and awards and help hold people accountable when they're sharing them, right?
of
And
course.
I think that, as we're consulting and being a therapist to these clients, our clients, they need some accountability too, right? And so I
Mhm.
really like the gamifying idea. Now, on the other side of things, what's something you see out there with HubSpot or other workflows that you're building that everybody says we got to have, but it's pointless. It's like overblown. It's people are obsessing over it, but it's not doing what they think it does. I mean, there's a lot of AI out there that does it, but in your experience, what's this?
Yeah, I think it comes down again to automation and AI. It's overhyped, but it's also a double-edged sword, right? And I've been noticing it lately as well. It's like garbage in, garbage out,
Yeah,
meaning if your process and foundation is not solid, if your sales strategy is not working, no matter how much automation and AI you throw into it, right? It's not going to work because it's only going to generate the results based on the effectiveness of your overall strategy. And so if let's say
sure.
my CRM is dirty, I don't keep track of data, I have broken processes that nobody's following, and then I throw in AI to say, analyze my pipeline and give me, some suggestions for me. It's going to be off because I
Mhm.
don't have the right setup to begin with and implement that automation. And so it goes back to really having the core built out first and
Sure.
then using other tools to amplify that.
No, that's perfect. And you actually had me thinking of some cases where, yeah, the product, right? I mean, a physical product being sold isn't necessarily the hottest thing on the market. You
Mm.
can automate all the productivity, lead generation. There's only so much you can do with a product that just doesn't have some inherent value proposition, right? And that's a tough situation to be in. It makes me very uncomfortable to work with and support companies where maybe their product needs work too, right? How do you
Yeah.
deal with that? I mean, I go and cry in a corner sometimes, but how do you handle that?
Yeah, it's a tricky situation, right? Because that is not exactly in our control, nor
Right.
is it something that we can help them with, right? They hire us for a specific job to be done, right? And so for myself, it's definitely something in the back of my mind as I'm building something and I recognize like, is it really needed in the market? I don't
Yeah.
know, right? So I could approach them with those kind of general, broader questions, but try to stay focused also on the mission, what they've hired me for.
Yeah. No.
I
No. I mean, kudos to you for that. I think that's probably the hardest thing that I personally have to get over is like my opinion. You know.
Mhm.
And that's not very businesslike of me to have an opinion sometimes. And the fact that you can stay mission critical, right? Stay on the mission critical track, I think is massive.
Well, I think you're also genuinely curious, Paul, and I mean that's the reason why you have your own podcast, right? You just want to know more, and maybe that's also your strength is that you provide additional value to the business owners when you work with them because you go beyond just doing your job. And so
Yeah, well,
I
I
think
think that, and well, thank you for that. You should do business with me sometime. What you could validate that. No, I think that is where we're at, though. We have to be both really good at what we do, but a jack of all trades too, where we're supporting businesses with their other tangent work, right?
Mm,
Where we're consultants, we're therapists, we're operators as well, right? And we're able to dig into the entirety of the business.
yeah.
And the companies like that, right? They like yours and Automations 24, and we're able to really drive the value when we're able to do that, right? And
Mhm.
not stay incredibly mission critical and blinded by, like, some obvious things, right? Cool,
Yeah.
cool. Well, I mean, it's been a fantastic opportunity to chat with you. I have one final question. It involves a squirrel, okay? And I think squirrels are scrappy, they're fast, and they
Yeah.
always collect things that they forget about later, okay? The question I have for you, and this is a tough question because you could possibly offend a function. What function in business do you think squirrels best represent?
I think adoption to change. Yeah. Yeah. I think you said it yourself, right? They're nimble, fast. And today it's more important than ever. I mean, we're seeing changes happen every day. And as entrepreneurs, it's really important to adapt to those changes. Market evolves. We gotta also evolve along with it. Yeah.
No, perfect answer. I think and that goes to business literature, right? Straight to
Mm,
the facts right now in business strategy, and it's that the smaller companies that are building a foundation that is agile and adaptable, they're the ones who are able to pivot or seize the opportunities far quicker, right?
yeah.
So that squirrel found, even a blind squirrel finds a nut, but if the blind squirrel has a good foundation, whether it be, through HubSpot and CRM and your organization, or they build it from the ground up, it's going to put them in a position to capitalize on that better. I 100% agree. So I'll take this opportunity then to wrap up the episode. Where can people find you?
Thanks. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, staying active there. Website is profitpad.com if you want to take a look at what we're building. Yeah, those two places are probably the main ones.
Okay, perfect. Well, again, massive thanks, Vitaly, for coming on. Like you said, he's the founder of ProfitPad, a HubSpot Gold Partner, certified CRM untangler. Once again, thanks for joining us. I hope everybody out there gets a little bit of a laugh, learn something new, and or realize you've been duct taping things in the wrong way since Q4 of last year. Please follow the show, leave a review, and tag us at Automations24. And
Great. Thanks, Paul.
bye, Vitaly. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Bye bye.